Hi, everybody. I don't know if any of you were able to jump back in. I got disconnected. That's never happened to me before. So there's a first time for everything. So for any of you that find this again, guess we got interrupted for a reason. But this is part 2 of Live 18. I'm going to hold this up again just to mark where we are. This is going to be a part 2 of Drinking Dragon and Stepping Stones live. The internet cut out or did something buggy. Hopefully this is the only other time we have to do that. Oh, thanks. Sugar Sue says she's back. Yeah, it's like when you fall and you wipe out around the corner and you don't mean to, and you go, like, I'm good. I'm still here. So I do at least remember. See, the good thing about having these little printouts is I remember where I was. So yeah, somebody commented things were just getting good and I got, wiped off the face of the earth. So here we go. We'll go back to our, Typhon. This was Roger at Mud Fossil University on his YouTube channel. And this is Gaia Mud Fossil or Mud Fossil Gaia. I forget her name. Let's see. Mud Fossil Gaia. So she was elaborating and she floated in on Roger's work. She put the dragon and the fish a little more graphically so people could follow what he was talking about. And then someone at another YouTube channel took a close-up of the dragon's face spewing acid onto this bigger fish. Again, supposed to be Typhon and Aries, according to Roger's findings over there. So we're going to zoom in just on the face. And that's where I was before I got weirdly frozen out. Not so elegantly, but oh well. So this is the face. It's a little hard to follow, but you can see the nose hole and the mouth kind of coming down this way. And then so somebody went ahead and put a little tool on it. I'm going to try to hold this steady. Sorry about the non-steadiness. So if you just look, you can see how they went from looking at that and then they, kind of filled in the blanks with some nice detail of the face as it, comes down and spews out stuff onto that fish. So I think that's a pretty good depiction of what's happening there. So again, as I was saying previously, this is a matter of we have book knowledge. We have a lot of lore backing it up that a end battle could have happened over North Africa there, with these giant, massive titans, and gods playing out. I think it's very possible. It feels very possible to me, especially Roger's findings, and especially since he shows the one over in the Northern Africa and shows the other one, the Quetzalcoatl, or however you say that name, of that feathered serpent dragon over North America. I think there's a lot of validity there. Now, I did mention that this other YouTuber, it's Mud Fossil Gaia, yes. What she did was she started looking at ancient maps where, they've got these sea monsters everywhere on those maps. And I talk about that in my previous live show, Giants and Serpents. So she looked at the exact location of this serpent and the lore behind it. And she found it on the map, she believes. So she did, here, I'll do this. So she was looking at it, should be off the coast of Spain up here. Again, just north of those other dragon beings, or that dragon being seen. So she zooms in more, and we've got Spain, okay, and we've got Africa, the Northern Africa here. So we're going to be looking at this right there. We're going to get closer and closer and closer. So now, sorry if I can follow my own thing. Where am I? Over here. Okay, so here, see this? This is off of Spain, just off of North Africa. And so we're going to start to see the shape of a body, and it's going to curve over like this for the face and the neck. So we're looking for this thing, okay, on the ancient map. So then when we come up over here, we're zooming in even more. And so we're zooming in more. So some of these islands are apparent on the surface, but we've got this bigger figure happening underneath. And again, you can kind of start to make shape of a head. And we zoom in more. I've upped the brightness and stuff. And to me, yes, again, we've got a snout, the head, the eye, and it moving around like this. Again, it has more of that water horse feeling. And then zooming a little more, I took out, I don't know if you can tell, but I made it black and white. And again, we'd be looking at the face happening over here. So again, this is no like natural shape of rock and landmass at the bottom of the ocean. I think just like what we just looked at on the surface, that's something that's happening that got, flash frozen, if you will, on the, the bottom of the water. So very interesting stuff, things happening at all different levels. Oh, and thanks, Sugar Seas. You say, yeah, indeed, right? So now we're going to get to the fun part, and it's very fitting that Sugar Seas is in the house because we are going to get to look at Giant's Causeway. Oh, before we do, though, I have to back up a second. I'm going to show you first the drinking dragon because I didn't get to that yet. A little bit more about that petrified dragon shape that I have on the cover of the show. But we'll look at this map for a minute because it involves this area. So we've got the Atlantic Ocean over here, and we have the Irish Sea down here. Petrified dragon's going to be at the island of Man in this Irish Sea. And then the Giant's Causeway we're going to go look at is at the Atlantic Ocean, happening here between Northern Ireland and Scotland. Okay, so that's just kind of, oh, and while we're at it, we just see on the map too, we've got Wales down here. So again, the dragon's on the Welsh flag. So a lot of dragon lore, giants lore, giant dragons lore. Okay, so here's the drinking dragon. Some nice imagery here of the fog. You know, and there you see again the neck and the head dunked down in the water with the wing in the back and then the forearm coming down into the water. So anyway, this is the Isle of Man, and this is where it is kind of at the tip of the Isle of Man. And then here's another view of the island. It's actually the Isle of Man, and then there's another part of it called the Calf of Man, and that's kind of, I think this is the rock, if I'm not mistaken, the petrified, the drinking dragon. Okay, and just I'm going to just show a couple more views, just some picturesque views of it. Again, I didn't even know about this until somebody put it in a comment, you know, in one of the comments I commented on. I even forget what I was talking about. And the person said, oh, you should look up the drinking dragon. I'm like, you know what? I should. So again, there's lots of different images of it. Sorry, you know, from afar, from up close. But to me, just feeling it out, I do feel like that is a dragon that got instant flash. Again, I want to keep saying flash frozen, but flash petrified somehow. And I think this is the other side of it, which looks no less dragon. If anything, it supports, you know, that kind of imagery. Okay, and then here's some other picturesque views. You know, here it is at a much greater distance. I mean, it's very impressive. And there's a lighthouse way out here somehow, you know. So by virtue of there also being a lighthouse, it just seems like a very significant energy center. You know, it just seems like there's a lot going on there. Regardless, very, very interesting. And it's very unlike like the haystack rock that I showed in a previous show off of the Pacific coast, where that's just kind of haystack, you know. This one has like a gap in it in a weird way, right? And some of these other petrified rocks and things we see around, some look like elephants, you know, anything with the arch. There's just something there. I really do believe that these things are the petrified creatures, you know, wherever you go around the world that they talk about, if it's an elephant, a dragon, whatever. All right, now we're going to get to the Giant's Causeway, and I'm going to read this a little bit. So do look at the post section of the channel. I did post some nice direct footage by YouTube channel Sugar Seas and some others to show what this Giant's Causeway is. I'm going to show multiple slides now of what's going on there. But the lore behind it, the Irish mythological lore, is that it says, I'm going to probably not get this name right, but it says, Irish mythology says, Fionn McCumall, or they call him Finn McCool for short, built the Giant's Causeway to face a Scottish giant, you know, across the way, leaving behind a famous, you know, stone columns and the hexagonal paver-like things, you know, at Ireland's northern coast. So one lore says he's building a causeway between the northern tip of Ireland over to Scotland to go face off with another giant whose name was, I have it written down here, Benandonner. And apparently they were going to like face off. I saw another part of the lore that says there was also a girlfriend involved that he wanted to bring over from Scotland. I don't know. But anyway, here's just some fun imagery from books showing that little scene of the lore. So you see, you know, here's the tip of Northern Ireland. Here's Scotland over here. And, you know, he's building a causeway to get over to Scotland. Okay. Now they show these huge hexagonal, you know, pavers. And I like this one because he's got like a whole big cluster of them and laying them down. So what's interesting is, okay, that's the lore. And I think there's always a particle of truth in some of this lore. But here's, looking at that area from a little bit of a distance. It's like a spit of the land coming out. And it's laden with all of these hexagonal figured, paver-like looking things. They're stone. Some are pretty flat. Some are higher. Some are more column-like. We'll get into more images of it. But here's, looking at the land, and then here's this thing projecting out. So you got very different rock formations happening down here that have nothing to do with what the character is back here. And Sugar sees it's a gateway. And actually, Sugar Shoes was actually there. So I bet you out there, you have a really good read on it with the energies, of course. So it's a gateway. And just for me not having been there, I would like to go there one day after seeing all this. It's just, this is so different in character than what's happening over here. And the explanation by book, I don't buy it. So just what I can find online, it says, oh, these rocks, I'm going to show you close-ups, are 50 to 60 million years old, and they were basaltic, and they were formed by volcanic rock, hot and then cold, and they're hexagonally fit perfectly together because those are fissure cracks. Well, newsflash, fissure cracks and natural environments don't perfectly dovetail together like that. So to me, they're just like a tile floor in bathrooms that have hexagonal shape. They're so perfect. The joint work is so spot on that those aren't just haphazard cooling and, heating fissure cracks. I just don't buy it. Yes, crystals form very precise, but not to this extent and scale. I don't buy it. So I put it out there to all of you. If you're not familiar with this, look at these steps. This is the stepping stones portion of the show. Look at these. They're really perfect. And we're going to have other views from above where you can see how well dovetailed they are, but they're all at different heights. They're all doing their own thing. There's bigger, pillars of them happening in the back. And they're just too perfect, in my opinion, to be as they're saying, and again, how does all of this just form? And you've got this kind of topography going on. And yes, this does occur in other places in the world, but if this were just volcanic activity, it would be happening everywhere, and we don't see it everywhere. So is it giants creating it? Yeah, okay, I don't know. But I know it's not what they're telling us. So I invite all of you to kind of maybe unsolve this mystery. Here's another view of them, and there's another one that show them even more precisely interlocked and connected. And so for fun, I just put the beehive. That's the other thing that we see occurring in nature that has a hexagonal form. That's very regular and very perfect. Okay, stuff like this can form in nature. But again, the way this is and the shape of the spit of land going out and its juxtaposition against something that looks totally different behind it doesn't seem like a natural sequence. It seems very engineered. And there are other photos that help that a little bit more. But anyway, this is one of those mysteries. And I put it out for anyone else if you're interested in digging around and looking at it more. That's more another view of those things. And then here's one more slide. And then so we've got all of these kind of happening down here. And then we have these vertical ones that get a little higher. And then this is going up the cliff face. And this is the view that reminds me to definitely, go look at Sugar Seas's YouTube video that I have there, the one that's talking about anomalies there at Giant's Causeway, because these things are going straight up, and those do not seem like just the result of volcanic activity. I think Sugar Seas even says it's like tech or something. Anyway, there's definitely, Sugar Seas says there's the rocks radiate energy, you'll feel it. And that's the other thing. We just look at these pictures and you can't get a sense of what it is when you actually show up at these places. And the other thing I want to point out is this is a UNESCO site. And whenever you hear that word, you want to go bing, get your little radar antenna up on it. Another UNESCO or World Heritage site is Stonehenge. And talk about the energies, they've destroyed it, under the guise of building a tunnel underneath or whatever. There's been documentation out there where starting as like 1917 under the guise of war, it was already manipulated. And as we get toward the 50s, all of the rocks were lifted off of that site and taken somewhere else. And then the new setup was, they said, we're just tilting them up and fixing it. Well, no, they cemented them in. So they're disrupting any connection that the original rocks would have had with the earth. And I've been there. I've been in and amongst it. I went on an English heritage tour back in the early 2000s because I wanted to feel the energy of the rocks. It was dead, totally dead. I felt stuff around the perimeter, really wide around off the land, nothing from the stones. Now, albeit I was not quote unquote awakened and consciously attuned as I am now, but I could feel it even back then. And it was just lifeless. So we got to really watch out. And you have to ask yourself the question. You don't have to, but you know what I mean? If UNESCO is there and they've put their stamp on it, why? There must be something very significant about that site. So, yeah, we have protected sites and everything, but now we're learning more and more with truths coming up that things like the national parks, big, vast areas of it cordoned off so people can't really see what's there. And a lot of evidence of older cultures has just been buried or destroyed under the guise of keeping people out of there. And they're doing it again, if you think about it, right? Blocking off Yellowstone, blocking off. Why? Because with the shifts of the earth, some are man-made and some are natural, things are literally getting unburied. This is our past. These are clues to what's really going on in this world. And those who are trying to oppress us, again, with the bad draconian energy, bad dragon, there's a good dragon and bad dragon energy, don't want us to come into the wisdom and the knowledge. So anyway, it's getting interesting. And Sugar Seas is saying it's similar to how she feels about if I can say it right, the Cahokia Mounds. Yeah, it's UNESCO site, right? So I think there's something very suspect when they have their quote unquote stamp on it. It means it's a very significant site, likely has been disrupted, but something we should definitely look into. So just as some things are kind of used to our disadvantage, if we're coming into truths and like censoring comes in to try to knock us down, I think we can flip that around and say, okay, UNESCO, thanks, because now you're just putting an arrow right where I need to look even deeper, like literally dig deeper. So interesting, right? I did want to mention too, just one little thing on the lore with the Irish stuff. It's a little loosely related, so it didn't come up directly, but I do want to bring it up that supposedly in the lore, as I was looking around at these giant stones, I call them stepping stones or whatever. There's something about giants, that's a whole nother thing. Giants, forget about the giant serpents, or dragons, but actually giant humanoids. And we touch on that with the Giant's Causeway, that, the giant was building it. But it brought up, as I was searching around, the term Fomori or Fomorians. I had never heard of it. If you know Irish lore, you probably do. It was news to me. And then that brings up the Tuatha De Danann. So there are two groups in ancient lore, if I'm saying it right, Tuatha De Danann and the Fomori. And the Fomori represented chaos. So they were giants representing chaos, and they were considered monstrous, primordial giants from the sea or the underworld. And then the Tuatha De Danann translates to tribe of the gods, and they were supposedly godlike beings of light and culture that came down in like a cloud. Okay, so to me, we've got the exact, in Greek mythology, comparison of the primordial gods or the Titans, the Fomori, and then the Tuatha De Danann would be the Olympians. Now, again, they say that the victors write the history. So to me, the Olympians were probably the bad guys, and the primordial gods that created the earth, created everything. Gaia is a part of the primordial gods and the Titans, that side of things. That would be, actually the good guys. So the victors writing the history flipped it. They're saying that, good is bad and bad is good. So very interesting. Thought so anyway. That's something you may want to look more into as well. And and thanks. Hi, Sarah T. Thanks for joining in. We had a little hiccup. This is a part 2. So there's going to be a part 1 live. And when I'm off of this, I'll go back in and edit whatever the text on the description to make that clear. So, but welcome. So anyway, that's something else you might want to look into. Also, I wanted to bring up, and along that, Tuatha De Danann was probably the Olympians. Fomori was probably the primordial gods and Titans. Then in that Irish lore, they say it was the Milesians who came in, and they're the human ancestors who then came and overthrew the Tuatha De Danann. So then you've got the story of like humankind now coming in with the Greek gods, like, or in this case, Irish gods, kind of pushed out. Anyway, interesting. I just thought that was all very interesting. Then I did want to say I didn't put a little like slide to put together for I wanted to do a crystal of the show. So if we're talking about dragons, has to be the dragon's blood jasper. So I don't have a piece, but I invite you to look at that up if you're interested in crystals at all. And that one is a mixture of the green epidote and red piemontite. And that supposedly is good for staying in balance, keeping a good perspective. And it's interesting because we're talking about the insights of the dragon and our inner insights. It's also a good stone apparently for courage, strength, and vitality, connecting the heart chakra, giving yourself self-love and grounding and physical regeneration. So it sounds like it has a lot of good properties. But as always, with any of these crystals, I say to pick up an actual specimen, feel it, see if it clicks with you. And the book may say, it heals this or does this. But I always pick up, this is random, just on my table, but this is bumblebee jasper. It's not the dragon blood's jasper, but anyway, it's what I have nearby. Always just kind of pick it up and feel it. And it might give you, if you just really connect in with it and feel it out, it may say, no, I don't want to be used to like help heal your solar plexus. Put me over here, like on your head and your third eye, and that will help connect. Just always go by whatever you intuitively feel in the crystal, in addition to or instead of the book knowledge, okay. Also, looking at dragon's blood jasper, there's also dragon's blood incense. I don't know if any of you have used that. I think it has kind of like a powdery scent, and that's can be reddish. It's actually coming from a resin, and that can be good. The incense is one thing. Then there's also just dragon's blood that you can use like a powder. I think it's actually it comes from a sap from a rattan palm that has a reddish color. And that's good apparently for wound healing, to cut down some inflammation, also good for an antibacterial. And the color red, the resin dragon's blood, that's also used in the old days. I don't know if they still use it, to give that reddish color to varnish, like on flooring, wood flooring and stuff. Okay. So that's just a little aside, a little trip around there. And then I think what I do, I meant to hold this up when we were looking at the close-up on that Africa scene of the dragon and the fish, because when I looked at the sketch, the clarification sketch somebody did, just reminded me of this face. So I meant to hold it up side by side. But we got the dragon. And then I think what I'll do is, unless anybody else has any questions or comments or observations that you have or insights or fun dragon stories of your own, I was just going to pull up a couple of cards. I pulled a couple of cards up, Oracle deck style, just one card each of these two decks, just to put it out there if anyone needs a message of the day. This is one of the decks it's coming from, is Dragons by Diana Cooper. It's your Celestial Guardians. So there's just the card version. There's a bigger book version. It's the same as the book that comes with the deck. So on that one, I happened to pull, and this is what the back of it, just for fun, looks like. And then, it's a nice deck of a lot of different dragons. And this one, what I got was, I'm not going to go too deep into it, but it's the, I drew the Earth Dragon, or actually I didn't draw it, it popped out. And actually it kind of, looks like this, has like, it's the nice Smog from The Hobbit, not the evil one. It's kind of like the counterpart. But anyway, it just says, clears your path and the land around you, the Earth Dragon. And it says, stay grounded, be ready to serve. Stuck energy is clearing. You can move forward in life. And that's the thing. It's said that a lot of these dragons, especially Earth Dragon, that it's like that picture, and I just threw sloppily all my stuff over to the side, if I can find it. It was that one where I had the serpentine mound, and then it showed the dragon below the artwork. I don't know if I can get it real quick again. Yeah, here it is. Okay, so Earth Dragon. It's like this image over here. This one. So this is showing serpentine mounds somewhere more generically. It's artwork, I think. I don't know if it's a specific place they were locking into, the artist. But they're just showing like underground, the idea of the serpent or the dragon under these serpentine mounds. So to me, that's like the spirit of the Earth Dragon. And it is said that they actually are located in the ground, and they are at specific ley lines and places, energy centers of the earth. And the Earth Dragons are the ones that are trying to harmonize the global grid, around the planet, and working with Gaia, working with the Mother Nature energy. So certain dragons do an energetic clearing. And you know what? That does make sense to me. I probably never really would have thought it before. That whole concept is new to me as of a couple of years ago. But you know what? It sits right with me. So I say, why not? We are also those grid clearing, beings. Any of us that are of loving heart, if you looked at us from a satellite view looking down, we are a very bright, bright spark. So if people say, oh, I kind of want to hide, I don't want to quite show that I'm spiritual or going down this path, too bad. You can't hide your spark as much as you want to try. You'd have to go dead, and that's the whole purpose. You'd have to deaden your soul. We don't want to do that. We're here to shine. We're here to shine so others can find those sparks too, or remember to grow their spark, right? So just by virtue of wherever you are located, me too, if you looked at all of us on the map, we're spread apart for a very good reason, because we are forming that living grid. And instead of using a crystal, I can't reach it, like they say the Atlanteans used crystals, right, to grid the earth, and then there came pyramids to then grid the earth. We are the living grid, and we are the living, loving grid. And just if we all could just like close our eyes, we don't even have to know each other directly, but just I can feel the energy out there, and we just smile, and from the heart space, raise the love right now all together. You would see just amazing things happening across the planet. That's all we got to do is take one moment. I was talking to somebody earlier today, had a great conversation, that even if we just all sang right now, just sang or hummed, we all took a moment out just to hum and sing, focusing on pure love, that all alone would heal the whole world and lift us into the next frequency, into the 5D instantly. So it's just, we do have that power. We are just pure sparks of light. And it's funny because I didn't plan on talking about it, but that came up with that earth dragon energy. And I also pulled one more card. This one is from Dragon Path. Let me see who this is. I'll show you the box better. This one is Dragon Path. I think it's Caroline Mitchell. Yeah, Caroline Mitchell. This one has a fun back of the cover if you're not familiar. It looks like a galaxy dragon. It's pretty cool. So on that one, the card that came up, that popped up, was number 8, Spirit. Now, the graphics make it look a little dark, but it isn't. There's beautiful write-up about this. Sorry about the glare. I'm trying to get around it. It's kind of purplish. Actually, it's standing between some standing stones, like a gateway, looking up to the heavens, to the stars. And, oh, thanks. Yeah, Sarah says it's beautiful cards. They're interesting. Again, they carry a little bit of dark depiction, but the meanings behind them don't, track with that. So let me turn on a flashlight here because it's dimmer than it looks over here. So I'm going to turn the flashlight on. So it says, anyone who might need a little extra message right now, it's number 8, Spirit. And it says, you are truly awesome and your own creator. And that is so true too. We're at a time where the energies are supporting us now. One of my shows before, I kept hearing the message, that was then, this is now. If not now, when? And now's the time to create, is to shut off the idea that the energies aren't there to support us anymore. Like, oh, this always happens to me, and oh, I'm never going to. All of that needs to go away. And we need to step into a new energy saying, okay, this is the story I want. I don't want the old story, let the old, flip away. That's why we had the shedding of everything with the snake energy, the wooden snake energy of the Chinese calendar that was past, and now we're stepping into the fire horse. So it's like having that fire, that inner fire, and that we know we can go forward in a way that we wish to see it and create it, not just putting up with an old system that was very draconian, very oppressive. We're shedding it off, and we're growing our wings, and we're going to fly away from it. We don't need it anymore. So anyway, this one says, Spirit appears to us when we are gearing up for another steep learning curve on our spiritual path. He connects most strongly with those who have begun to work on themselves and are well and truly underway with their spiritual journey. His arrival frequently precedes those whose job it is to work for the planet and humankind. The dragon spirit connects with those in particular who have embarked upon the transitional journey of deep self-healing and self-understanding, and those beginning to recognize the bigger picture within the circle of life. He reminds us that everything is interconnected. There is no separation. He says, there is no you and I as separate beings. We are all one energy. And, and there's a little bit more, but I'll stop there. But yes, that's the message. We look like we're individual, but our sparks are all united, all connected in one. And that's what we're being called to do right now, is wherever we are on that grid, be like these earth dragons, working the grid, healing things up and uplifting the energy wherever we are. And so that's also reminding me of those stepping stones I showed earlier, right? That we're taking our steps. Sometimes a baby step is all we can do in a day. 10% is all we can give, or 1%, or just none. Another day we might have 100%. And the idea is that we just show up as we are, even 1%. That goes back to that whole, even with the belief of the faith of the size of the mustard seed, even if you just can hardly go on anymore, there's just a power that works through us, whether we try to bring it or not. And so just again, we are living geographically where we are living because there's a purpose for us to be there. And if we're called to go move somewhere else, listen to that maybe, because it could be that the divine has a bigger picture, bigger idea for us. And by going there, it's not just, oh, now I need to get out of this situation, or this is going to be better financially. It's like, no, God says, leveling, I need your ass over there because we need to light this grid up. So anyway, those are just some things coming to me. I think that's about it. Sorry again it's not my fault, but whatever, pardon the disruption that we have a part 2, but I'm so glad you could make it here, all of you. And yeah, just giving you a big, big hug energetically, sending a lot of love out there. I know a lot of us are going through some challenges one way or the other. And, we're just all moving through this together. It's a game. And it's going to be real interesting, I think, to see what's coming up. Things like this, like I never imagined talking about the dragons in this way. And I just think that this energy coming in with the dragons, we're going to, again, because their name means to bring clearer sight. Think about that. That's exactly what we're stepping into now. Truths being, unveiled and revealed. And the more that we can just look at some of these things, there's going to be some shock, some negative stuff coming up. But the more we can look at it and go, okay, the reason why all this negative, sticky stuff might be coming up is for us to say, I see you. Okay, I see you. And now I'm going to transmute that energy and lift it up. We don't need it anymore. So it's almost like I need to see you, this negative thing, so that I can just kiss it and wave it goodbye, honor it. Like, okay, you had your role to be this way in the world, but now we don't need you anymore. Thank you. You no longer serve it. And we're moving on this way, but thank you. You played the contrasting role that we needed to play this game, but no more, right? And we go on our loving way forward, happily skipping, hopefully, with love in our hearts and a song in our voice, and a song in our hearts, and expressing it. So anyway, maybe find some happy music, do some dancing, just right now in my mind, I'm just singing a beautiful harmonious tune. Let's just light up this world with that. And we can do that even if we're in the dumps. We can just for a moment blast out loving energy, and that counts exponentially so. And then, go back in the dump, sleep it off or whatever. But, just know that, yeah, tomorrow's another day, right? And let's see what comes. And let's start expecting the good things now. We've been burned in the past, yes, shown plenty of examples to drag us down, but that was then, and this is now. We've got beautiful energy with that fire horse. Let's just ride it and, go forward with an extra little fire under our ass, so to speak, but one that's loving and like not accepting any things that are lesser or dragging us down, right? Anyway, that just wandered all over the place. But anyway, love to you all. Big hugs, tremendous peace and love. And until next time, we'll see what happens, what the topic is. But blessings to everyone. Till next time, thank you and bye. Take care.